Welcome to the 13 Comics of Halloween.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the last episode of the 13 Comics of Halloween. We did it. We did it, everybody. We gave our best effort to give you some fun or spooky or all the above issues and episodes of some comics you probably haven't heard of, and maybe you can check out if you like them. So I hope all you guys have had fun on this month. And we enjoyed doing it, even though it was a lot of work, a lot of extra work that we weren't really anticipating when we came up with this. John, I was thinking 4 issues or something, or 4 episodes. John was like, let's do 13. That's a spooky number.
Yeah, the 13, like the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, the 13, whatever. So,
yeah.
13, the 13 comics.
That's a great number. And then we were like, wait a second, that means we got to do one every other day.
At least I didn't say the 31 comics.
Yeah, the daily comic of Halloween. Yeah, that is good that you did not do that. I would have not signed off on that anyways. It looks like John is doing a bunch of solo episodes this month to make up for that. So, yeah. But hopefully you guys really liked it and enjoyed it. Let us know if you did.
We'll do a poll afterwards for sure. And tell us which was your favorite one. Because there's a lot of fun and unique stories that, again, we may not have seen before this. So,
yeah. So, for our last story, we're doing The Walking Dead #1. And if you guys haven't seen or heard of The Walking Dead, where the fuck have you been? But basically, The Walking Dead was a comic from, I think, 2002? 2003. And it was just an indie comic that was published through Image. It wasn't anticipated to go anywhere. It was like a low print run on the first issue and second issue. And that's why it's really hard to find now and everything. It's pretty expensive. I think it's like $500 for issue 1 if you had that original printing. I had issues 2 through 100, and then I sold them all and bought a couch when I became an adult. So when I got married. So but since then I wanted to buy the compendiums. But basically, The Walking Dead is an indie series. It's black and white. It's really good. It's really creepy. And then it got so popular and so well known that AMC made a TV show about it that was also super popular and well known.
It is still going on.
It is still going on, and there's a bunch of spin-offs and everything of it too. I will say, if you haven't seen the comic or the TV show, read the comic. The comic is much better than the TV show.
Yeah, the first couple seasons, just in general, and the first
they follow it.
They follow the comic, and then it really goes off.
Yeah, once you start going oh, they're jumping sharks, huh? That's when you should just stick with the comic. But the comic is almost perfect. It never gets boring. It never I read it through issue 100 for a while. I mean, I was reading, I think I've read through issue 120. It ends at issue 193. It actually ended this year. And so it ended, they didn't say anything. They just said, issue 193 is coming out. And when it came out, they're like, oh yeah, that's the last issue. So it got under ordered just like the first issue did. So it's a rare book now and it's hard to find and everything because, they didn't tell anybody they were making it the last issue. So, it was kind of funny they did that, but good on them, I guess. It's fun.
Yeah, to go out like that.
Yeah, fun. And they went out on their own terms, just like they started, And so this should be like an inspiring story for everybody who wants to write a comic or make a comic of their own, because it's a very successful indie comic, probably the most successful indie comic of all time. It got Robert Kirkman, the writer, from a nobody who live in wherever, Tennessee or something, Kentucky, I think he was living in, just working at a factory, to being a co-owner of, or co-partner of Image himself. He is one of the heads of Image, along with Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee and all those people now.
Yeah.
So I don't think Jim Lee's in it, but whatever, whoever's in it now, the original guys that started Image, he was asked to be in it. He's the only person who wasn't, of the original creators in the 90s, that's a partner. So that's crazy. That's how much this book made them, and how many ideas he put out, because he also has a lot of other ideas too for comics. So, and we'll probably read some of those in our main podcast, Invincible and some of the other ones.
Oh yeah, Invincible.
Yeah, but this was his first really big hit, and basically it starts off with a police shootout, and there's a dude named Rick Grimes, and he is with his partner Shane, And they don't really say their names in this first thing, but I know because I have read everything. So they're in a shootout with this crazy guy, and Rick's like, give me some backup. Like I'm gonna run over here, see if I can get a better shot at him. And right as Shane's about to like give him some cover, the guy shoots Shane's hand, which makes it so he can shoot Rick now. And so Rick gets shot right through the like chest, and a pretty big, right through the middle of his chest. So it almost looked like it probably would have been life threatening if he didn't get to the hospital. And then he just wakes up in the hospital, and you gasp, big shot. He's in the hospital. And when this came out, this was the same year that what's that movie called? I was going to say 30 Days a Night because we just did that one, but it's not. Something weeks later.
Oh, yeah, 28 Days Later.
28 Days Later.
That's the first one, yeah.
And it starts off very similar to that. They have like almost the same beginning, and both of them weren't out at the same time. Like, I mean, they were both out like at the same month almost. So it's like one was in Britain coming up with this idea, and the other guy was in his room coming up with this idea.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. But basically, he wakes up in this hospital. There's no one there. He's like, what the fuck's going on? He's like, nurse. And he's like trying to get out of bed, but his muscles are all sore and they're not working right. He's trying to call for the nurse, like on the call button. No one's coming. And he's looking around, and he gets his, clothes out of the room, and he puts them on. And he starts walking around, and like nobody's there. Nobody's in anything.
Everybody going break at the same time?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, what the heck? And so he's walking through the halls. Everybody's, like out. There's silence everywhere. And this is the only part I was like, that wouldn't happen. But basically, he goes in the elevator, which still works for some reason. and he goes down to the first floor or whatever. And when it opens, there's like a dead body that like comes in like falls. He's like, what the heck? We need some help over here. There's like a guy who's dead. And then like he's like, what the? But this person isn't a zombie. They're just dead. And then he sees a door, and it says the cafeteria. And then there's like a board across it. And he's like, what happened here? And he like takes the board off. And then all of a sudden he looks inside, and there's a bunch of zombies. And they're like,
yeah, he doesn't know there's zombies. He's like, what's going on in here? Like, yeah, these people start kind of walking towards him.
Yeah, and he's like, what the fuck? And then one of the guys that just happened to be closer to him starts charging at him, and is basically like, brains, but not saying brains. And he's trying to eat him. And he's like, I can't understand you. What are you saying? And he's like, please stop. And he like basically chases him all the way back to the like exit stairwell. And they all follow him down there. So now everybody in this cafeteria that were zombies are like coming slowly walking towards him. And he's specifically getting harassed by the main one. And that one and him fall down the stairs. The zombie like cracks his head on the stairs. And basically that's how he gets killed, is like Rick Grimes smashes his head on accident, and then the guy stops. And so then he runs out of the nearest door that he can get out to, and he ties it with his belt so the other ones can't get to him. And now he's in like a parking lot. And so he's like, okay, well, I guess I'll just walk around because I can't, there's no, like all the cars are locked. And
yeah, he tries to get into one of the cars and it's locked. He's like, well, okay, guess I'm walking.
Yeah. And so this is all interesting because most of it's quiet. Like, him talking to himself or saying stuff out loud. But like most of it's just him walking and looking at like the desolation. You can see everything's super overgrown. So he's been in that hospital for months without necessarily have to be there for months. Like he was probably already stable and healing fine. Then the zombie outbreak happened. And then
he was just in left that room and forgotten.
Yeah. And so he's like looking around. He's seeing like people and bodies like crash and cars. And he's like, Jesus. And so he's looking, and then he sees one of these bodies that are very obviously dead and like skeleton almost. And it's like, and it like looks at him and it's like it wants to eat him. And he's like, oh my God.
Yeah, you see like a tear roll down his face. He's like, oh my God, what has happened?
Yeah. Like what's going on? It's so weak. That thing like doesn't have any muscle anymore. So it can't even stand up and walk. And like, but it's trying to eat him somehow. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna like go back to my house after I like kind of recover from that scene, and like find my family. So he goes to his neighborhood, he goes to his house, and no one's there. His wife and kid aren't there. He starts walking around the neighborhood, and all of a sudden he gets hit in the head with a shovel, and it's like I like the art in this. It's just like clong, like a big like page of it getting hit in the head, and then this kid's like, "Dad, I got one. He was trying to like eat us or whatever," and then the dad's like, "Oh, son, that guy's still alive." Like, you almost got it, you know.
You okay, mister?
Yeah, so they're like, grab his feet, get him inside before, like, we draw more attention. Then he wakes up in their house, and he finds out, oh, these guys are kind of like hiding out in one of his neighbors' homes, and it's just like the son and dad team, and he starts getting some information about the things and whatnot. So like they're like, holy crap, like you don't know what's been going on. He's like, what are those things? He's like, those things, there's everybody, like they're zombies. And so like they're just telling him everything that happened and what's going on and like how you can kill them, like with a hit to the head.
Yeah, and it really puts in time for him. He's like stuff started happening, then the media was freaking out, and then there was media silence. Like everything just shut off.
Yeah, and then he said that they were saying they should get to the cities, because they can protect you in the cities, which doesn't make any sense. But then he's like, oh, thank God, the cities. Yeah, I should totally go to Atlanta because that's where like my wife's family is there, so they probably went there too. That makes me feel good. And then like he's like, I was so worried, man. And then the guy's like, oh yeah, I'm sure they're fine.
They're fine
yeah, like he just like doesn't even. He tries to hide it, but like Rick doesn't even pick up on it that he's like, yeah, I'm sure they're A-okay, buddy, so he's like, oh, I need to get a car and go to Atlanta, but like, hey, you want to go shopping with me first? And so he like pulls out his keys, and he still has his keys to the police department of this small town. And so he goes in there.
I like the little encounter they have because like they're like, oh, I didn't know you were a cop. You don't mind me staying in your neighbor's house? Like we thought, this neighborhood would be a little safer than our neighborhood, blah, blah. He's like,
yeah.
He's like, obviously shit's been going down. You're fine, man. I'm not going to.
As long as you give it back when they come back. I like that. Like he thinks that they're going to come back. Yeah. Or people are like just going to like be.
When everything goes back to normal.
Yeah,
buddy.
Exactly. It feels like right now when people are like, when we go back to normal, and you're like, really, man?
Is it going to go back to normal?
So yeah, it's like that where they keep saying like, oh yeah, when it goes back to normal, just make sure you give that house back. He's like, sure.
Put that bad voodoo on us, man.
Zombie outbreaks. Yeah. So they start going through, and he's like, check that out. I got like all these guns and weapons.
That was cool. They're like, he opens his supply room and it's like,
yeah,
all these guns,
weapons. And so I was surprised. I'm sure all of this would have been taken as well.
I would think
no
so
way.
Too, yeah.
There's no way, but. He puts on his old police uniform with his cowboy hat and everything. He's like, if I'm gonna go to Atlanta, figure it might get some pull if I got my uniform on with my sheriff's badge and whatnot. He gives like 2 shotguns to the man and his boy, and the boy's like, I'm old enough to shoot, right, Dad? And he's like, I'll teach you tomorrow, like, but don't touch it until then. And and so yeah, they get all their supplies, and as they're coming out, they're like, what was that? They hear something. And there's a zombie like looking at him through the fence. He's like, and then he's trying to bite through the fence, which I thought was cool. Like it's like, like its lip is caught on the fence because it's trying so hard. Then Grimes, like out of, I guess, instinct, pulls his gun on it, and the dad's like, no, don't shoot because it'll draw more of them. So like they're drawn by sound and everything. So if we just kind of like sneak out of here, it'll be fine because. I guess the door was on the other side. So they're like, we can sneak out of here. You get a police car, father and son, that's better than the car you had. And I got this brand new police car to get to Atlanta. And they're like, okay. So that's like him driving to Atlanta. He stops on the way somewhere. We see it looks kind of familiar, but he stops and there's that zombie that was like almost half dead, but it couldn't move on the grass that tried to like look at him earlier when he cried. And he's like, all right. And he like shoots it in the head. He's like, all right, now we're good to go. I'm going to go find my wife. And he like sheds one last tear, and that's it.
And everything is going to be okay.
Yeah, as you know, with all zombie movies, everything turns out exactly like you think. So he leaves to go to Atlanta, and that's the end of the first issue. Almost a perfect issue in my mind.
No, yeah, it's fantastic.
What would you give this one, John?
So... This is the first time I've read the comic.
Oh, really?
So that was cool. Yeah, yeah.
I should also say the artist from Tony Moore, who was a very good artist. He's very good, like angular and whatnot.
Yeah, it's a little more cartoony.
Yes. Then actually later on, another guy picked. I think after like issue 12, a dude named Charlie Alderd picks up all the art, and he does it from whatever issue 12 to 193. Yeah, all the way to the end. But this was like the first, start. And Tony Moore did. What did he do? He did Fear Agent. He's done some other stuff. He's done some really good work, but yeah, he's got like a more cartoony feel than some of the other ones.
So it was a little cartoony as far as like not quite like natural human-esque.
Yeah, like expressions and stuff.
Yeah. But it was fine, and it really got the point across, and especially like you still had like a sense of like fear and dread, and then like seeing the dystopian, apocalyptic world around them.
Yeah.
And like it was cool. It was still really great detail, and like you said, the the mangled half, barely able to move zombie.
Yeah,
that was still like trying to gnaw. Like you still like that panel just when it first showed that. Like I think we're gonna use that for one of our like little splash ones. Is like because it was so creepy and unique and really cool. Yeah. Like I said, I had I've seen some of the comic, but I never like really sat down and read it. So this was cool to do.
We should read like the first volume and maybe a couple more.
I'm down because I think it's great.
All right, we'll put that on the list.
Sounds good. So in general, I would say I mean it's near perfect. I would give it a 9.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this one a 9 too. I think it couldn't have been written any better. The only thing that I wish hadn't happened is that 28 days later hadn't come out like the exact same month or whatever. Because there was like that comparison, like, did he take it from that, or did the movie guys take it from him in some weird idea, or did they just have the same idea at the same time or whatever? But the weird thing is, that's a zombie movie basically, and this is a zombie, comic. This started those two things, and probably this more because the TV show got so big, started like the whole zombie thing that like craze that's been for like 15 years.
Yeah, that is still going.
Yeah, it's still going, but it's kind of on its burning out at the end of it. But yeah, it's been going for a while, at least in America. So, but yeah, like this was, I mean, this probably overtook the Ninja Turtles in being the biggest indie franchise once the TV shows hit and everything. Because I mean, there was toys of the comic and the show. There's all that stuff, and the comics do great because the show does great, and so there's a lot of crossover. I remember working at the comic book store, and people were like, "Is the Walking Dead comic like really good?" I'm like, "Yeah," and then like when the show came out, I'm like, "You got to read the comic," and then everybody's like, "Oh yeah, the comic's great too," and so like people who never would read comics were reading this. Like my sister-in-law was reading this, like it's not something she would just pick up randomly on her own. It'd be like, oh, I watched the show and I liked it. Then it kind of got weird, but then Matt said the comic is better, so let me just read that. And she had like the first 2 compendiums. I'm like, oh my gosh,
that's awesome.
I didn't realize you read comics. But like, yeah, it's stuff like that. Like when you can reach that extra audience and become like the next partner in fucking Image or whatever, and like just pushing through those barriers like that it's crazy that someone can do that just from I got an idea for like a zombie comic, and that's why anything's possible, kids.
The Walking Dead shows us anything.
Yep, believe in yourself, because
and zombies.
And zombies, and like a turtle comic or a comic about turtles who became ninjas can become the number one thing in the world. And the comic about zombies can become the next big thing. Then whatever your idea is can also
be too, possibly.
So, possibly. I mean,
give up on your dreams.
Yeah, but also have a backup plan.
And on that note,
thank you. That Halloween downer.
Yes. No, thank you guys again for checking out our 13 comics of Halloween. Let us know what your favorite episode was. Give us a comment in there or send us a message.
Yeah.
We appreciate all your feedback, and we really hope you enjoy these.
Yeah, and I hope everybody has a great Halloween. Eat all that candy.
If you celebrate Halloween, if not, get discount candy the next day. Like that's
do that.
That's
or
still
go to church
good.
and bob for apples or whatever you do.
Yeah,
and yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one.
On the next episode.
Bye.